Hey everyone. Alright, it's Steve from Different Chick Farm and Orchards. We're back here. We're getting close to the middle of December. This is December the 8th, as a matter of fact. You probably saw the video yesterday in this series. We're talking about growing food in the winter. We're talking about food sustainability. We're talking about feeding your family. We're talking about being less reliant on the grocery store and more reliant on your backyard or front yard, your flower bed, your garden. Some people, it probably isn't practical to grow all of your food, but we can grow a lot. Even with a quarter-acre lot, we can grow a lot of food. And so we're going to try to show you through this series some of the stuff we can do and some of the places we can push the envelope. And I'm going to show you some stuff that I've never done before, but done a little bit of research enough to find out that I think I can make it work. Now, the key to some of this stuff, like the brassica type stuff we're going to be growing, I'm getting ready to plant some Chinese kale, Chinese broccoli. It's got a couple of different names, but it's a Chinese brassica. This particular one is Yod Fa. And then I have from Johnny's, I have, I'll never pronounce this, Hansai Tai. Both of them are that similar type of product. And then another one we do is Tatsoi. Tatsoi works real well if you get it started in the fall. We did not. We got some planted already, but I'm getting ready to do another round of this today. We've had Tatsoi in the garden before, outside, unprotected, get snow on it, froze several times, and was still in great shape through almost the whole winter. I think we lost it that year sometime maybe in February. We had a really hard sustained freeze that stayed that way for, I don't know, maybe a week, and that finally took it out. But it was amazing to be able to go harvest these things out of the garden, and they look just gorgeous. Few times they'd have damaged leaves on the outside, but you know, you pick the damaged ones off if you want it to look really pretty, and but the rest of it was really super nice. We would lose one every now and then over the winter. You know, we probably had 100 and some of these planted out in the garden, and we might lose one every couple of weeks, maybe one every 3 or 4 weeks even. It wasn't too many. And on average, you know, generally that happened. We'd have a real hard freeze. It'd drop down into the teens or low 20s, and we'd lose a couple of plants. We might not lose a plant again for 3 or 4 weeks, other than the ones we ate. But that really ain't losing, that's using. And then Mizuna. Mizuna is something we grow a lot of. This is a real nice little Asian leafy green. Reminds you of the look of, almost the look of a mustard leaf. Not exactly, but a little bit like some types of mustard. Matter of fact, I think Mizuna, some of them can look like a mustard leaf. You'll get one every now and then. So we're going to grow that. Now yesterday I planted, and I didn't shoot a video on that because I figured we would talk about that in this video. So yesterday I planted several things, as a matter of fact. I finished sowing lettuce. This is some of the lettuce that I did, we talked about. This is the Merlot, and I already got some on the shelf. And this is the Merlot, is a real dark red lettuce. It's actually, I think, considered the darkest red lettuce on the market. And then I've done some Paris Island, which is a romaine type. And I did some others I've already got on the shelf. These have to be watered and go over. But what I did that I didn't talk to you about yesterday, and we may shoot a video on this in the future, maybe towards the end of this series, I'm going to plant some more of these. But right now, yesterday, I can't shoot videos all day long. I would never get anything planted. So I had to take care of this. So yesterday I did some Bok Choy or Pak Choi, whatever you want to call it. Traditionally, we call it both, just according when you talk to us. But traditionally, Bok Choy is what it's called in the U.S. Pak Choi is what it would be called in the U.K. So it really just depends upon where you're at and what you've been taught. So I planted some minis, a couple of, probably about 3 different types. But anyway, this is the one from Baker Creek. It's got a real nice little picture. And this is, and I'll never pronounce this right, Hajol Tiny. And it's a miniature Bok Choy / Pak Choi. Technical name I think on these will be Brassica Rapa, how you pronounce that? Rape? I'm not sure how you pronounce that. And I did Ching Chang from Baker Creek. That's another miniature one. I did not get to this one. I'm going to show it later, but I do have this for later. This is called Oriental Greens, and it's an extra dwarf Bok Choy / Pak Choi from Baker Creek. Real pretty. And then I've not sewn this one. I will wait a little while on my Purple Lady. That's the Purple Lady Bok Choy. I'll get this closer to springtime. I'll probably sew these up closer to, maybe February-ish. And then I sewed, I've also got Black Summer, but I did not sew it. And I've got Bopac, but I did not sew Bopac. That's a full-size variety. And then I have Asian Delight. I've got that sewn. That is also a miniature Bok Choy. I did sew Joy Choy, and that is a full size. So that's the only full size that I've sewn right now. And the reason being, I'm going to grow these in a heated greenhouse, slightly heated. Understand that. We're just trying to maintain that 50-55 degree temperature at night so that we can keep some of this stuff I'm going to grow in this little greenhouse. It's a 12.5 foot by 24.5 foot greenhouse. We have 2 of those, and they're twin wall polycarbonate. I've got a video on those if you want to go back and check that out. If I can remember, I will link that in this video so you can check out the greenhouse. And we'll probably do some greenhouse tours again this year too. But we'll grow several things in there that we're pushing the envelope on. Might could get by with growing them outside under some fabric, some roll cover, heavy roll cover, but I don't want to push my luck because this stuff likes to bolt, especially a few of the things. But the Joy Choy is very heat and cold tolerant, so I'm going to push the envelope and see if I can grow some. Your miniature Pak Choys are a spacing of only 2 to 4 inches. So we're going on a 2-inch spacing, and we will lay that out to make the best use of our space in this greenhouse. I've got me a little map / legend drawn out here. I'm usually do this in a graphing book. My graphing book got wet. I went and pulled it out this year, and somebody had laid it somewhere it got wet. Not me, but anyway, so I drew it on this little piece of paper instead of a graphing book. But I've laid that out to where we can do the miniatures on a 2-inch spacing, and we'll put that on a 3 foot wide bed, and that will give us 4 rolls per foot. So that'll give us, if you do the math, 4, 8, 12, that'll give us 12 rolls, which is, you think, well, that's not a lot until you start doing the math on the spacing and everything, and that's 2,856 plants. So what we're going to do is probably sow about 1/3 of that. I got them already seeded, and then I'll come back and seed another 1/3 once these come up and go in the greenhouse, and then I'll seed another 1/3. Some of these things are as quick as a 37-day variety. Some of your full sizes go up to 50 days. So, you're going to have food pretty darn quick if you can make this work. And yes, heating is not always ideal. But I think for the amount of food that we're going to be able to produce in this little greenhouse, because I'm going to really fill it heavy, we're going to leave a couple of 1-foot walkways in here, literally 1 foot, so it'll be just a path. But since it's small items that don't spread out into the pathway, I can get by with 1 foot walkway. You would not want a 1 foot walkway on tomato plants, on pepper plants, stuff like that, that's a little harder to contain to a small area. But since these are not growing way up, you know, so far the biggest thing I'm planting in here is going to get 12 inches tall. You know, that's not a lot to interfere if you're walking, if you just watch where you put your feet. But that way we can maximize this space and really get as much out of it we can, and heat it very minimally. Like I said, all we need to do is maintain 50-55 degrees. It's going to be warmer than that during the day, but we just can't let the nights get cooler because that'll induce our bolting. And then in my middle bed is where I'm going to plant my full size. And so they're on a 1 foot spacing. You do them 10 to 12 inches apart. So I'm doing a 1 foot spacing because that makes the best use of our bed. So the middle bed will be a 4 foot bed, and we'll work it from each side, where the outside beds will work from the inside only. So 3 feet is really pushing what you can do here. So we'll do 4 wide on that, and we'll do that grid, follow that grid pattern all the way down in this 4 foot row in the middle. And then I'm going to come back in between these on the diagonal, kind of like what I've got here. This would be your grid. So in between each of those dark dots, I will come back and put a fennel. Fennel is another crop that doesn't like it to get too cold before it gets mature, or it will bolt. And it doesn't like to, not bolt, but anyway, it won't work. But it won't work. So you got to. We're maximizing this greenhouse with crops that don't like to freeze and so forth. Now, the one thing that I will do that may not be required for the temperature I'm doing, but I'm going to do it so I can prep the greenhouse and maximize the use of it. So my bed on the other side, my 3 foot bed, I will be running a round of beets and turnips through that. Turnips do pretty good in our unheated tunnel. Beets don't like the occasional night that gets freezing. They really just don't like that temperature. So I'm gonna put beets and turnips here. So these beets and turnips I'll be able to sow probably 2 crops of them through here before I move the crop in that I'm going to move in very super early spring. So I'm getting ready to sow celery seeds probably today. Celery does not like the wrong climate. Celery cannot handle being in the wrong climate until it's mature. It still ain't gonna want to freeze, but you know, once we get to almost mature stage, it can handle it. Same thing with some of the Bok Choys and Pak Choys. Once they get up to size, they can handle the cold nights. It's that seedling stage that becomes a big problem on a lot of this stuff. But anyway, I can run a couple of rounds of beets and turnips through here, and I may figure out something else I want to stick in there. I'm not sure yet. I haven't made up my mind on that 100%. And then my celery takes 10 to 12 weeks from seed. So then my celery will be ready to plant in here, and I will come in and I will fill this whole side more than likely with celery. And we'll have some cut and come again celery that'll be here, and then I'll start thinning the celery out in early spring so I can start planting other plants in here. But for now it'll be celery, and by then I will be done with a couple of successions of my mini Pak Choys and Bok Choys, and so that'll come out and something else will come in here, a more valuable crop. And I will probably grow a couple of successions of the full-size Pak Choi in here so that I can get a couple of real good harvests off of it, because I'm going to get 96 plants in here. But my second one I might do half of this in the full size and then do the other half in something else. So just kind of playing. And I think I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put some onions. I'm going to interplant some onions also in amongst the full-size Bok Choy and Pak Choy. So just some green onions is what it's going to be. So looking forward to that and giving that a try. Now, like I said, some of this is experimenting for me. Some of what we show you, and I'll tell you when I'm experimenting. Some of what I show you we've done for years. Maybe we've done it for a couple of years. Maybe we've done it for 10 years. Some of it maybe we've done for 30 years at this point. But this one is more experimenting. Now, I've grown beets in the greenhouse in the winter with minimal heat, getting it down. It gets down to freezing sometimes, but usually not too much below 35 degrees. But this time I'm gonna try growing them with a little bit of heat on them, just to see if I can produce a little bit better crop. So, and then we got another greenhouse that we're getting ready to start planting, that we've already started planting, that we don't have a full plan on what we're doing in. It's the same size as this one. Okay, so back to what we was talking about, because I wanted to talk about this and let you see all that, but this is what we're talking about. So, your Asian greens, your Mizuna, all of it, it's still a brassica type. So we still have that classic. If you ever planted broccoli, I know you probably can't see that very well. Maybe you can zoom in. It's that classic broccoli brassica type seed, little round seed, little bitty thing. They'll roll all over the place if you spill your package. No fun. So with these, I don't do them like I do the lettuce. You can't really shake these out real good, or at least I'm not that good. So I'll put them in my hand and sow them. I'll pour some out in my hand, then I'll sow them. Oh, before we do that, this is another similar to your other Mizuna, which is green. This is the Beni Hoshi, and it's a purple type. Really cool, really cool, really cool. Your Mizuna and stuff you can harvest in multiple phases too. Okay, so what I got here that I'm gonna try on this is a 288 cell tray. They do recommend that you do this in a 2 to 3 inch cell wide cell. Now I'm not doing that because this stuff is generally direct seeded, because you sow it so thick. So I don't want to waste. I can basically get 2 trays in one tray here, because my other trays are 128s and these are 288s. So in the space that it would take 2 trays, and my seedling area is a little compact this time of year because we haven't spread out into everything yet, because we don't want to heat everything yet. Back to watching that dollar. So you wonder what I'm doing here. I'm pushing down on this tray so I can recess that. Now, another easy way to do this is to lightly walk on it. If you're a light person, you can probably stand on it. I'm not a light person. So if I do it, I don't put all my weight on it. I'll just put my foot on it and press down. And this is just easier than going through. You can go through with a marker. I've done this before. And just poke a recess everywhere. But that isn't as necessary. So, like that. Gives me a good recess for my seeds. Fill 2 of these trays at once when I'm filling them. Now, if I was working out in the greenhouse, I'd probably fill a whole lot more than 2. So, real quickly, just for those that may not have seen our other videos, and I am poking a couple of these down that didn't quite push down. If I'd have stood on these, but that would have made me get off camera. And I wanted y'all to see that way to do it. Didn't want to get off camera to do this. So let's do the Yodfa type, the what we call Chinese kale, and we'll just go ahead and do the Yodfa. So that's that one. All of these, the seeds on all these look the same. If you was to pour them all into a bucket, you wouldn't be able to tell them apart. So pour out whatever you're comfortable holding in your hand. And then I usually take my fingers and get a couple of them. And it don't matter if you get more than 2. I try not to get much more than 3 because it makes it hard to control. And then I'll just go through and roll one kind of out of my finger at a time. And don't go all over the place. Work your way down the roll. Like I said yesterday with our lettuce seeder, there is specialty equipment that does this much, much more time efficient. We don't own that yet. Maybe one day. They make wands. They make seeders that'll seed this whole thing at one time. And again, I don't have that yet. It would be nice. So, do one more roll. Won't bore you all with watching all of this. I can fast forward the video, but then I feel funny sitting here not talking while I'm seeding all of this. It makes you feel a little weird. But if I talk while I do it, then normally I just pour quite a few in, but I was trying not to have to put too many of them back in the package. Okay, so once you do that, I keep a little bit of soil in the scoop, as I showed in our other video. Go back and watch that video. You can find out about this if you want to. Just sprinkle a little bit on. Now you can, if it's tomatoes or something, I'm not quite this gentle with covering them. I will just pour it on, smash it down. Try to be a little, and same thing with peppers. I'm not as gentle. So that's all there are to it, folks. So this one is our experimental crops for the winter. I think we're going to be just fine. I think we will produce more than enough to make this justified. It would probably be justified if I was just growing this for my family, but we'll be growing for our CSAs and getting things ready for that. Our fall and winter CSA runs out the end of January, I believe, the last week maybe of January, and then our spring CSA doesn't start until the first day of spring. So we got to have plenty of crops up and going by the first day of spring, and we start our farmers market season the first weekend in March this year. So I need crops for my family. We like to eat good, healthy food. We do not like having to go to the grocery store and buy our organic groceries because, truthfully, sometimes the quality is not good enough for us, that we're used to ours, and we don't like what we have to buy in the store. And then also, it's expensive. And this, by growing some of our food, whether we grow it all or not, by growing some of our food, same thing if you, us, me, you, by growing some of our food, we can help to eat better, healthier, be more self-sufficient, and lower our budget for the groceries. Brassica seeds, so Asian greens, broccoli, cauliflower, all of those. There's so many things that fall under there. The Mizunas, there's so much under that. The Bok Choy, the Pak Choi, the seeds are not expensive at all. So I can grow this whole 244 tray. Usually, I'm going to throw a little bigger number out there than I normally do because I don't want to lie to you. $9 for the seeds. It's probably more like $6 for the seeds, and sometimes you can get a generic seed, but we usually look for something a little more special. Sometimes you can get generics. Now, if you buy in quantity, price goes way down. I'm just talking about if you buy like this pack from Johnny's is 250 seeds, and I'm going to estimate we paid somewhere between $6 and $12 for that pack of seeds. I would have to look it up to know for sure. And then these trays, you can get the cheap ones or use whatever you got. But these, the reusable trays, the hard plastic ones, they're not cheap, but I'll be able to use this tray probably till I die. We got a stack of these, and I've got some other sizes too. Then we're going to buy some more, just like these. These are reusable ones too, and I'll probably be able to use them until I die. They'll probably still be for my kids to deal with and grandkids. But we also have the cheap ones. And these are reusable to an extent. This one, as a matter of fact, last year we bought, this was came with, we bought, because we had a mishap with our brassicas. We set them outside to get sun, everything was going good, and then we missed the weather forecast and had a hard freeze, and we killed about half of our brassicas. So we went and bought some broccoli and cabbage. So this one came with some cabbage in it, and so this tray came with the cabbage. It's already had cabbage grown in it once, and I'll be able to grow in it at least this year, and probably for the next 2 to 3 years if nothing don't go wrong. Can't leave these sitting out in the sun too much without anything in them, because they warp and twist. So that's the beauty of these reused. These other ones, the hard plastic, they don't warp and twist sitting in the sun. But you know, you count soil, the tray, everything. There's maybe $32 here, and that's 288. Let's say this was broccoli, because it's easier to judge your purchase price for broccoli. 288 broccoli plants. So let's say we get 200. Let's just round it to 200. Let's say we get 200 heads of broccoli. 200 heads of broccoli. Organic pricing, depending on where you live, is going to be somewhere between $4 and $8 a head. I saw the other day non-organic wholesale price at a discount store, and it was $4 for the broccoli. Now, I don't think there's nothing wrong with that price. My personal opinion is broccoli is probably worth $5. It takes a long time to grow. A lot of work goes into it, so I don't have a problem with that. But let's round it to $5. That's way cheaper than you're probably going to buy organic for. So $5, 200. What's that math? How much? Waiting on you. Well, if we had 10, $5 would be 50. If we had 100, $5 would be 500. We have 200 at $5. It'd be 1,000. So a little bit of work, a little bit of time saves us a lot of money. So folks, grow your own food. That's all I got to say today, other than like and subscribe.